My last video on the royal family certainly exceeded my expectations, with the video now nearing 10,000 views. And clearly there is a lot of demand to talk about elements of the royal family which people traditionally do not want to focus on. And whilst I have no intention of turning this into a royal family based channel, it makes sense to give the public what they want. So in this video, we are going to continue the topic by looking at elements of the royal family which people don't usually talk about, focusing on the royal family's darkest secrets. Now, some of these points you may be well aware of, but many of them you will have never heard of before most likely, so I do recommend that you stick around all the way until the end. And with that being said, let's jump in and start off with a very obvious one, and that's regarding Prince Andrew. Now, whilst Prince Andrew has had his fair share of media coverage recently, for all of the wrong reasons, there are other elements of Prince Andrew's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein which are not so well documented. Now, one thing which has been in the news a little bit recently, but certainly not as much as it should, is Prince Andrew's civil lawsuit. Now, what we know is that Prince Andrew has been entangled in a lawsuit based on his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and the victims which have obviously come from that relationship. Now, Prince Andrew in this case decided not to go to trial, instead paying the alleged victims an estimated £12 million. And whilst nobody knows for sure why the prince settled out of court, it certainly had further negative effects in terms of his public relations. After all, why would you pay millions for a crime that you allegedly did not commit? I don't know about you guys, but I know that if I was taken to court for something that I didn't do, I would fight to clear my name, especially if I had the top lawyers that money could buy, like Prince Andrew has access to. It simply makes no sense, and subsequently a lot of people saw this as another negative blow to Prince Andrew's reputation. Now, quickly moving on to the topic of racism. We could spend a lot of time talking about this and take the argument in many different directions, but that would be too long for a sub 15-minute video. So let's focus on the key elements. Now, did you know that until the 1960s, ethnic minorities were not allowed to work in clerical positions in the royal palaces? In fact, the royal households are still exempt from laws against racism and sex discrimination. Now, on top of that, we know that Prince Phillip was known for his overt racism. There are countless documentations of Prince Phillip offending all different kinds of nationalities and traditions. Now, more to this day, Meghan Markle has accused the royal family of racism. In fact, allegedly one member of the family, which many people assume is King Charles, King of England, was concerned about what colour Harry's mixed race baby would end up being. Clearly, the image of racial inclusion within the royal family appears to be nothing more than just an image, as there are many documented instances of racist behaviours which are simply inappropriate for the modern day. Now, moving on to the topic of slavery and unethical work. If we go back far enough, we could say that the British Empire has wronged most countries of the world at some point. But with soldiers apparently fighting for king and country in the UK, we must therefore hold the family responsible. Now, this topic could go back hundreds of years, and it could certainly be its own video. But to focus on recent history for argument's sake, we're going to have a look at America. We know that the Queen had investment interests in a cotton plantation in Mississippi for many years. And whilst the Queen apparently never set foot in the state of Mississippi, the 1968 investment is considered to be very controversial and an element where people turn against the royal family. As already being rich, what would make the royal family invest in what is considered to be an unethical industry? Another big blow for the royals in the past 20 years has been Harry's Nazi uniform. Arguably, we could have included this in the racism element of the video, but because it's so significant, I decided to give it its own section. Back in 2005, only 2 weeks before Holocaust Memorial Day, Prince Harry was spotted wearing a Nazi uniform. The photo clearly shows Prince Harry wearing an outfit to what appears to be a party. And by no means is Harry the only influential person to be spotted wearing an offensive outfit. For instance, Justin Trudeau was spotted at a party wearing blackface. But in my opinion, Harry's iteration of racism is significantly worse, because unlike politician Trudeau, we cannot vote out Prince Harry and the royal family. if their views do not match the general population. So for them to be this tone deaf is certainly a lot more offensive, as we have no way of getting them out of the system. Now let's focus on the topic of ownership. Let's talk about what the royal family owns. Clearly there's a lot of assets, but some of them are certainly unfairly accrued. Now, while systems like the Commonwealth do in fact benefit countries within them to an extent, countries in the Commonwealth have the UK monarch as their head of state. These countries were often looted and plundered by the British many years ago. And to add to this, don't forget about the British assets in the UK that the family own, such as palaces, often stolen or wrongly accrued jewellery, but also the British seabed. And whilst this may seem irrelevant, don't forget that the royals can monetize the seabed through business ideas such as wind farms and other lucrative methods, giving them much more money. So in conclusion, we have covered about 6 main points, and whilst we could have gone on to cover many more, I wanted this video to be quite short, so perhaps we'll be making a part 2 soon. But ultimately we did cover some of the main topics which have happened within the royal family recently, and some of their darkest secrets which they do not want you to know. So what do you guys think? Do you think that we should gloss over them and move on? Or do you think some of these points are just too significant to ever forget? I want to hear what you guys have to say down in the comment section, so do of course drop me a comment down below, it would be massively appreciated. Other than that, I'll see you again in the next one, so goodbye for now.